from being bullied to being in an abusive relationship.
Youth Justice and Practice is a second-year unit in the Bachelor of Criminology and Policing, but it is open to students as an elective across any program, and so it attracts a cohort of about 600 students each offering. I was faced with the imperative to flip the unit, and I thought students really like my lecture series. They find it engaging, but they question my legitimacy. And so I thought, brilliant, why not go out and interview practitioners working in a real setting who worked within the youth justice system. And so that's how this idea emerged.
What Anna needed was to bring expert opinion into the classroom, but because the unit was repeated often, had really huge enrolments, and also was cross-disciplinary with students ranging from psychology, policing, sociology and education backgrounds, it needed to be offered online and in an asynchronous mode. So it just wasn't practical to continually bring in expert opinion in the form of guest lecturers onto campus.
A large number of kids who offend.
A solution was to do in-depth on-topic interviews, pre-recorded in video on location in workplaces, showing the legal system and its contributors. These interviews with local judges, youth workers, legal aid and caseworkers were made available to students to supplement the course material.
The interviews were incredibly rich with content that tied in theory, practice and real-world examples and experiences. The first few times the course was run, students responded positively to the use of expert opinion video content.
You can do a reading and understand it to a certain degree, but then watching the practitioner insights and the professionals really solidifies and gives you examples to connect to those theories that you may have read or the lectures that you may have watched. So it just gives you a broader understanding once you can put an example to something. I think they really help with that.
The insights are really engaging. It's really interesting to hear all their stories and where they're coming from, especially since I want to go into that kind of field of working with young people as well. It's really interesting to know that these things really do happen in society. You think it's just a story, but people really need help, and it's really good to see that they're trying to help these people by educating others.
The first delivery of the unit with the practitioner interviews was structured in a really linear way. And so although our students reacted very positively to seeing a practitioner on screen, it was a step-by-step process, which is not realistic of how the system works. So they were really struggling to connect the complex issues. And so we thought, why not think of presenting the content in a more complex and integrated systemic way.
After we completed the interviews and trialled the use of the video for the first time and used them in the course, it became really clear that what we wanted to emphasise was the way that the interviewees and their responses were actually interconnected. And students found it really interesting to see topics responded to differently by experts from professional perspectives in different ways. And this brought new insights to the topic areas that could be compared and contrasted against each other. We wanted to instill a real curiosity and a passion for exploring the topic with students by making it possible for them to self-determine, self-select the content that they wanted to access, and not to just deliver it in a weekly cascade method. We wanted to deliver the content in an interactive, interconnected mode to students.
Thank you for listening and engaging with our presentation. This project has three aims. Firstly, to explore the nature of student and staff engagement with the Youth Justice Portal. Second, to investigate the role of the Youth Justice Portal in shaping student and staff identities. And third, to evaluate the role of the Youth Justice Portal in the promotion of self-regulated learning practices. In this presentation, we'll focus on exploring the nature of student engagement of the portal through an activity theory lens using learning analytics data from student participation in the portal. In our research, we are interested in addressing these questions using the framework of third-generation activity theory as proposed by Engstrom, 2001. In particular, we are interested in the relationship between the learning design intentions developed by the teaching staff and instantiated in the Youth Justice Portal, and the way that the portal is used and experienced by students. Students and teaching staff are positioned as two activity systems, each with their own set of rules, tools, communities, and ways of structuring how activities are carried out. For example, students might alternate between individual and group work, and this may be governed by external curriculum requirements or the ongoing development of self-regulated learning practices. Teaching staff, on the other hand, may facilitate in a team teaching environment or conduct tutorial sessions on their own in online learning settings. The mediating artifacts and rules for these activities will differ. One of the ways that these two systems come into contact with each other is through the portal. Students are required to interact with the portal as their main source of content in the unit, and the portal is provided to students by staff to engage with interconnected and authentic content and as a foundation for undertaking formal assessment tasks. Third-generation activity theory provides us with a way to theorize about the relationship by proposing boundary objects, or points of collectively constructed objects between multiple systems. In our work, the portal is a collectively meaningful object and can be considered to be Object 2 in Engstrom's 2001 model. The boundary object is Object 3, and this represents that space in which students are interrogating, modeling, practicing, analyzing, and potentially integrating the content from the portal into their own emerging pre-professional identities, practicing what Engstrom called expansive learning. The boundary object can be expressed in the form of assessments, discussions in tutorials between students and teachers, peer-to-peer discussions, blog posts, or discussion forums. It is a set of shared narratives that are components of the ongoing learning process. It provides a conceptual and empirical window into the degree to which the learning design intentions of the portal are manifest in learning experiences. The tension between learning design intentions and student learning outcomes, broadly conceived as either assessments or discursive activities in a classroom setting, is not explicitly described in models such as Biggs's 3P model. Activity theory provides us with a model and language to explore the nature of this tension through the concept of a boundary object. We are currently exploring the shape of the boundary object between the two systems using learning analytics data generated from the unit in 2021. To do this, we have proposed that there are three key learning design intentions that are instantiated in the portal. The constructive alignment between learning materials, activities, and assessment tasks as the first learning design intention. The second being promoting development of professional identity through authentic voices, and the third being to encourage exploration to promote the interconnection between different contexts and content areas. What can the learning analytics data tell us about each of these intentions? In Graph 1, the number of sessions, time spent in sessions, and number of users was plotted against tutorial sessions and major assessment tasks. The graph indicates that student engagement patterns are aligned with two major assessment tasks. This provides one perspective on the initial question that was posed. Why are students learning? Based on this data, they are learning to meet the requirements of assessment tasks. This graph, Graph 2, indicates the shape measured in number of views and unique views of the most popular material. 6 videos are the most popular measured in terms of number of views. After the 6th video, the number of views tails off, and the number of repeat views too tend to tail off, i.e., there tends to be less disparity between the total number of views and unique views. What does this tell us? Do students consider the less popular videos less authentic? Why? Are they less relevant? In the popular videos, is the content more authentic? Is the context more authentic? Do the more popular videos align with students' self-authorship and shaping their professional identity? How? This view of the data leaves the questions of the what, why, and how open for continued exploration. This graphs, graph 3, the number of sessions for each video against the average duration measured in minutes spent on each video. What does this tell us? Interest in videos is still there for students who are interacting with material because the average duration is distributed fairly evenly across a wide range of material. The popular videos are watched, when they are watched, a similar amount of time as the less popular ones. This means that students are exploring the full range of material, but certain videos are getting explored more than others. Why? Graph 4 indicates that for the majority of students, their sessions, measured in number of sessions, ranged from 0 to 11, and for these students, their sessions ranged in time from 0 to 70 minutes, with some outliers above that. This indicates a degree of binge watching over a short number of sessions. When we align this data with what's popular, we can say that there might be patterns of binge watching for a certain set of videos. This tells us about the intensity of viewing sessions, and this addresses how, in a behavioral sense, and when students interact with the material. This view of the data provides us with some insights into the what and how from a behavioral perspective, but it does not give us an indication of the elements that students are choosing or valorizing, or even how they are integrating, questioning, or analyzing the content. Some of the key aspects of expansive learning that occur when the object and motive of the activity are reconceptualized to embrace a radically wider horizon of possibilities than in the previous mode of the activity, Engstrom 2001. In student feedback on the unit, the alignment between the videos and assessment tasks was a feature of student feedback. This is clearly reflected in increased student participation in the portal around assessment deadlines, and this perspective complements the first learning design intention. Students also appreciated the relevance of the authentic nature of the video material because they were able to see how the content might be applied in practice and how it might prefigure their entry into the workplace. This experience corresponds with the second learning design intention. The portal was also viewed as a mechanism for the exploration of different perspectives, a reflection of the third learning design intention. The alignment between learning design intentions and student experiences, however, was not universal. For example, it is clear that the nature of the portal challenged learning practices that are aligned with linear and traditional modes of delivery of content. Additionally, the architecture of the portal promoted meaning-making practices that some students found challenging. Making meaning of the boundary object, therefore, reflected different stages of the learning process and uneven experiences with the portal as a tool for learning. An interview and one focus group were conducted to explore the staff perspective on teaching practice using the portal. Interpretation of this data suggests that some students had difficulties shaping the boundary object to meet their needs or to satisfy curriculum requirements because the tool itself is seen as a barrier to productive engagement with the material. Interestingly, the experience of some staff suggests that this difficulty is not unique to the student experience. Some members of the teaching staff are also reconfiguring their own teaching practice to complement the exploratory nature of the platform. This is a design-based research study, and one of the key limitations of the current dataset is that it is limited to learning analytics data and a limited amount of qualitative data from teaching staff. The collection and interpretation of student-based qualitative data will inform changes in the design of the portal so that learning design intentions and student experiences create a learning space for the emergence of expansive learning. The enriched data will also enable us to explore the why, what, and how questions with a view to understanding how the boundary object is shaped and configured by students, how learning design intentions are met, but also how students engage with the affordances of the portal to begin to author their sense of professional identity.